I'd like to call to order the Westmont Village Board meeting, November 14, 2024, to order at 6 o'clock p.m. and ask Clerk Simsky for a roll call, please.
Mayor Gunther.
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Barker.
Here.
Trustee Barry.
Here.
Trustee Guzzo.
Here.
Trustee Little.
Here.
Trustee Nero.
Here.
Trustee Simonovich.
Here.
Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. The first item, of course, is open forum, and we do not have anyone, so we'll move on to reports. My report is a couple items. Water infrastructure. At tonight's meeting, we will again talk about the details regarding water infrastructure needs and related rate adjustments. This is an important necessity that the village must address, and it will affect water rates. More information will be published on our website. Again, we haven't raised rates for a long time, and the infrastructure is starting to get old. I won't say fail. Credit card payment processing. The village has begun using a new credit card payment processor. These details have been sent directly to affect customers as well as placed on the village's website. Again, it's that season, Holidays Festival. We invite everyone to take part in the Holidays Festival. I think the parade is December 7th, the Frosty and Friends Parade. Mark your calendars for that. That's the traditional tree lighting ceremony. And you get a chance to take a picture with Santa Claus. The festivals kick off at Westmont High School Choir singing in Addington Plaza at 4:30, followed by the parade at 5. So please come out, enjoy. We're going to have great weather. So that's it. Clerk Simsky.
Okay. I just want to make sure everybody's here, so I know you're here, I know I'm here, I know Barker's here, Barry's here, Guzzo's here, Little's here, Nero's here, Simonovich's here, Attorney Zemanek is here, Village Manager May is here, and Assistant Village Manager Parker.
Yep. We got a full house.
Yep.
I'm going to go over to Trustee Simonovich. Police, public safety.
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor, for this. The Police Public Safety Committee meeting is not yet scheduled yet for the new year.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Barry, you have anything, you're not really assigned to a committee yet?
I'm not really assigned, but I come up with stuff.
I
Mr.
figured
Mayor.
you did.
That's it. I did want to give a report about Westmont High School and West District 201 in general. They're very excited to announce that they have earned the highest recognition, platinum rating with access from the College Board. The College Board is an organization that is responsible for the SAT, the Advanced Placement Program, and international college admissions testings. Schools can be recognized and earn bronze, silver, and gold ratings, but very few high schools in the nation earn the platinum rating. So we see Westmont High School getting a lot of these today, but what's really unique about this, what is exceptional is that Westmont High School is the only traditional high school in Illinois to earn the rating and recognition. Out of over 600 traditional high schools in Illinois, Westmont met the rigorous criteria and earned this honor. Other private and selective enrollment and magnet schools have earned this distinction, but no other Illinois public high school has done this in the history of this award. So that's the first for Westmont High School. So great things going on there. And the real exciting news there is Kyla Babb is a cross-country runner, and she just placed third place in the IHSA 1A state finals. So I'm sure we may see her down the road or so forth, but a lot of great things going on at 201 and the high school. Thank you, Mr.
She's a junior.
She's a junior, yeah, so we could be a state champion next year, possibly. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Johanna Guzzo, Fire Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next Fire Public Safety Committee meeting will be in 2025. Stay tuned for as dates are released. Then Fire Safety Education. The Westmont Fire Department is working on some seasonal fire safety tips, which will be published on our website soon. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go over here. Trustee Barker, Environmental Improvement Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. To recap our last meeting, just in general, we are talking there about municipal street lighting and then the idea of dark sky compliant fixtures, and that's about illumination. It's not about turning all the lights off. That there's going to be more and more information and discussions about that. We had the pumpkin composting event with the EIC volunteers, and we held that up at the library with help from Public Works and Flood Brothers, our waste hauler. And then we have coming up the community recycling contest that's going on. Businesses and residents are asked to go to the website and sign up to be part of the community recycling contest. More information is at westmont.illinois.gov. Holiday lights recycling beginning November 1st. That's already started for your Halloween lights, and we'll have Christmas lights, but residents can drop off their unwanted or broken lights at 2 locations, the library and the South Fire Station. There's containers there, and then we'll make sure that that goes back and gets recycled instead of thrown in a landfill. We also have an electronics and more recycling event out here in front of Village Hall on November 23rd from 8 to noon, and the details are posted on the village website. So there's a long list of items, things that will be taken by those folks, and again, in an effort to reuse it and keep it out of a landfill. So please check that and please participate. We've held these now for 2 years, 3 years. It all kind of blurs together, but every single one of those, the participation is going up. So it's a really a nice thing to be able to offer. That is all, Mayor. Thank
Well,
you.
we have to thank the Environmental Improvement Committee for all the hard work they've done to accomplish all this. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Trustee Little, Administration Finance.
Thank you, sir. Fall festivities on West Quincy, specials, entertainment, raffles, and more. 10 different businesses, locations that are participating, each with their own specials. They will continue through the end of November. 5 locations on West Quincy have been scheduled to have live music performances to further encourage people to come to West Quincy and shop Westmont. Tonight will be Connie Garitano, who is a Westmont resident, and she's performing from 6 to 8 at Galaxy Sushi. There's also an online raffle. This program has been coordinated by Westmont Special Events in conjunction with Westmont First. Visit the Westmont Special Events website for additional information. That's westmontevents.com. Due to the holidays, the December Village Board meeting schedule has been adjusted. There will be Village Board meetings on December 5th and December 19th. Various Village Board committee meetings will be taking place on those dates as well. And then last but not least, the local businesses are invited to sign up for holiday window paintings. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Nero, Public Works Committee Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items today. Our next Public Works Committee meeting is December 5th, 4:30, right here at Village Hall. Special thanks to Public Works, all the team that helped with our wonderful holiday decorations. We even have some new interactive decorations around town, so make sure you check those out. Haven't seen them lit up yet, but I'm sure they look great. And then a quick update, before this meeting, we also had a Community Development Committee special meeting. And just a couple quick updates from that. We discussed a few things. The first one, local amendments to our building and fire regulations. You know, we're kind of looking from a lens of being a little bit more developer-friendly. So our fire department and community development department worked together on some, what I think was a good solution to get us closer to that goal. So we can expect that change to be coming to the village board soon. And then we also talked about multifamily density discussion as well, which we've learned that our density requirements are just a little bit antiquated, a little bit outdated, so we were taking a peek at that to see if there's anything we need to change to get more in line with our neighbors. And we also heard an update on online permitting, so we're getting closer to that golden number of being, almost fully all online with electronic permitting, so the team's investing and putting a lot of time and effort to that process, so the public should expect that to get better and continue getting better, which is great. And then just a quick update from last night's planning and zoning meeting. We had a few items. There was an animal grooming place that was recommended for approval. A text amendment for a zoning ordinance to add a performing arts studio up on Pasquinelli. And then last was James Long Park, which I won't go into, but will be on the agenda tonight that we'll be talking about. And last but not least, don't forget about free leaf collection. It goes through November 30th. Residents can put out an unlimited amount of leaves and craft paper bags during this time. No stickers are needed. And that is all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to items to be removed from the consent agenda. I'd like the dementia-friendly awareness to be taken out. Does anybody else have anything else? If not, I'd ask Manager May to please read.
Thank you. This evening, the consent agenda begins with Village Board minutes. Board to consider approving the minutes of the Village Board meeting held October 17, 2024. There's also the release of executive session minutes. Board to consider a motion to accept and approve and release the following executive session minutes with the exceptions as noted. Usually that's a long list and I don't read it, but the exceptions are March 21st, 2024, except paragraphs 1 and 2, and October 3rd, 2024. I guess I'm just going to explain why would you have an exception when there's executive session minutes. So sometimes there's more than one topic talked about, so you release the minutes on the ones that are ready to, and you might have to retain, for now, the minutes that are still confidential. That's followed by finance ordinance. Given the unusual meeting schedule we have, unusual because I changed it, from in November and December, we have two finance ordinances. Finance ordinance number 14 in the amount of $1,507,247.22, and finance ordinance number 15 in the amount of $2,068,242.91. There is one purchase order, West Central Municipal Conference, $37,471.10, and this is for our fall tree planting program, which is currently going on. The two finance ordinances with that purchase order total $3,612,961.23. And with the removal of the proclamation, that is the entire consent agenda.
Do I have a motion to approve as read?
Motion to approve is read. Little?
Second.
Second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
You got them all.
We got them all.
We'll go back to the proclamation, dementia-friendly awareness, and I'll ask Manager May to please read the proclamation.
Dementia-Friendly Awareness Day. Whereas, since 1983, November has been designated as National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, and whereas more than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia, and whereas dementia kills more people than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined, and whereas 16 million Americans provide unpaid care for people with Alzheimer's or other dementia, and whereas in 2023, dementias cost the nation $345 billion, expected to rise to $857 billion by 2050. And whereas the degenerative brain disorder can strike adults at any age, and whereas the lifetime risk for Alzheimer's at age 45 is 1 in 5 for women and 1 in 10 for men. And whereas the Westmont Dementia Friendly Advisory Committee encourages the village residents, businesses, and services of Westmont to break the stigma and fear of exclusion attached to Alzheimer's disease and other dementia. And whereas through education and awareness, our Dementia Friendly Advisory Committee continues to build Westmont into a dementia-friendly community that supports those living with dementia and their care partners to maintain an active role in our community. Therefore, Ronald J. Gunther, as mayor of the Village of Westmont, hereby proclaims November of 2024 as Dementia-Friendly Awareness Day in the Village of Westmont, and calls upon all citizens to continue the work maintaining a dementia-friendly community.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Parker.
Second Little.
Motion made and second, roll call.
I'm sorry, I got Barker and,
Second Little.
thank you. Trustee Barker,
Yes.
trustee Barry,
Yes.
trustee Guzzo,
Yes.
trustee Little,
Yes.
trustee Nero,
Yes.
and trustee Simonovich.
Yes.
Motion passes, and I'm going to ask our committee, I know Mary Ferguson is the lead, this is something we're very proud of, that we were the first
We were the first in DuPage County.
DuPage County, that's what I was,
The
yeah.
ninth in the state, and of course, as we like to say, we did beat Naperville. But we've been doing this for almost 5 years now.
Yes.
And actually, there's now 40 communities in, or under the guise of Dementia Friendly. But there's still only 2 in DuPage County, which is, unbelievable in a 5-year period. So we should take a lot of pride in that. But I just wanted to give you a couple updates. We have been doing programs at the Westmont Library since August of 2019. We do monthly educational programs. We had our one last night, and we had one a week ago, and between the two of those, we had 40 people come. And that does keep growing. And we have some that return, but every time we have a program, there's probably, 45% of the people that are new. So they're learning about it through the signs, through the library, through word of mouth. We also have a very strong memory cafe, which we started only a year ago. We have 18 people who come to that, and we have a waiting list. There's 2 folks here, Claire and Julie Ann, who are part of our senior resource group, which is part of the chamber. They actually are volunteers as well as one other person. So there's 4 of us who volunteer. And then we also have a monthly support group. So one of the social workers from Burgess Square. So very community focused on making sure that these things happen in the community. We are part of the chamber, and this resource group really does support. They talk about different programs that we have. They come out and hear, which is wonderful. But the idea is really that care and the support. One of the things though that we'll actually kick off on Monday at the library is Chief Gunther. Little wave if you don't know him. He actually, we're doing something called Faces Behind Dementia. And what that is, it's in part with Rush Alzheimer's Disease Center. So when you have a dementia diagnosis, a lot of times that's all that individual sees, right? You see this person that maybe doesn't have a lot of expression. But there's so much more behind the diagnosis. And that's really what this campaign is. And so Chief came out and we have 12 photos that will be going up. I have a few of them here. I know, 8 by 10, some are 11 by, 14s. Really trying to interact and get that individual. They're husbands and wives and grandparents, and they were, Purdue graduates, Notre Dame graduates, that they're very proud of that. And so we have to remember that when they have a diagnosis of dementia, it's such a small part of who they are. And so as a community, part of the reason we do the Dementia Friendly is so people realize that they have supports and that they're not alone. And I think for the groups that does the Memory Cafe, what they realize is, oh my gosh, you see that personality. They laugh, they joke, they're sarcastic. I know Chief had a great conversation with all of these individuals, and we learned so much more about them just by asking them questions. So thank you all for your continued support. And letting me come out and letting us continue to grow this. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Who else is with you today?
So I have, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Shel Lindsay. I am part of the Westmont Senior Resource Group as well, and local recording.
Julianne Rizzo, part of the resource group and part of the winning team for
Yep, the casket races, yes, we were part of that group.
I'm Sarah Behrens, part of the Senior Resource Group as well. I'm from Downers Grove Township. Claire Naraki with Equitable, part of the Senior Resource Group.
So, yeah, it's great. So they're always here to help support, which I think is wonderful.
And thank you. You brought this to the community. You also provided training for employees to be
Right.
aware of individuals that have dementia. So
So if you're in any service organizations, churches, or your employer, we can do that. You know, it's about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how much time you want. And as this group always jokes, I can talk about dementia-friendly anytime you want, so. But thank you all very much for your
Thank you,
continued
and
support.
thank you, ladies.
So, thank you.
Photo?
Picture? Patty's got it. Yeah. Since it's a village thing, I think the whole board should come up.
Come on, yeah, everybody, come on. I know how much y'all love that.
Let's go.
No,
Come
it's
on.
real.
All right, go for it, Ginny.
We knew we were gonna get you. Come on.
Big guy in here.
Oh, we gotta balance it out a little bit. I'll stand right back in the mirror.
Okay, somebody else.
Please, show it.
We're good.
That's
We're
right.
good.
Ginny.
Okay, come on, Ginny.
Come on.
All right.
Okay, we'll try. Ready? You can all ready.
Dinner.
Where's Larry?
Oh, he's out.
There we go.
What's your time?
We got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
2,000 lights, because it's hard to, it's
Nice.
Got my own.
Cheap, too. Getting a lot of hard work. Thank you. We'll move on the agenda to new business. We don't have any unfinished. First, item A is increase in available tobacco license. Board to consider ordinance increasing the number of available Class B tobacco license by one for Sefton LLC Grab and Go at 7 South Lincoln Street in Westmont. I got Deputy Liquor Commissioner Mulhern.
Good evening, Mayor and Village Board. Pleasure to be here. I have with me, I want to make sure I get their names right, Elia Sefton and Naveen Mikhail, who are the owners of 7 South Lincoln. That's the business right across the street from the Village Hall, right around from the fitness center or from the yoga place. They are a convenience store, and they are eagerly looking for a tobacco license. Purposes, they wish to sell tobacco to their customers. They've only been in business probably about 6 months or so, and they've been there, and I'll let them describe their business and why they need or why they would like the tobacco license. Just a couple things. They have recently, if you'll see the sign, they are back now selling lottery tickets, where before they hadn't. They are back. Their square footage is about 3,000, about 3,000 square feet. And in talking to Ilya, they would, all tobacco sales, and I believe you have pictures of the entire interior, is going to be mounted on a wall behind their desk. And that's the reason because tobacco sales are limited to anyone over the age of 21 only, 21 and older, and so they just don't have them out where anybody can take it. It's a not a controlled product, but the sale is watched and monitored by them. I did do a background on both applicants and the business itself overall, and did not find anything that would deny them a license, but again, they've explained that it's up to the village board to decide to increase the licenses by one. And if you do so, the mayor and I have talked previously, he will go along with the board's decision this evening in this case, that if the board does not increase the licenses by one, then he would not issue the license, and that if the board decides to increase the licenses by one, then he would issue a tobacco license, and I'll let the mayor speak for himself later. But if I can have the two owners speak, and this is your chance to tell everybody a little bit about your business, please.
Yeah. First of all, we are so happy to do our business in Westmont here. Really, we feel we are in the family. We have a small store. We're doing convenience store for the community here. All people is nice for us, and we are nice to them too. And everyone come friendly to us. But here now in the business, anyone can do order also online. So for the convenience store, the industry start to be low a little bit. Only the tobacco or some stuff only, they can do it online. That's what we can offer it to now. If it's not, we just sell candy and gum. That's all we can sell it now. Because if anything, you can do it or order online from Walmart, from a grocery store, from anywhere. That's why people come to ask about the cigarette. When they come, they take something else besides the cigarette, or they come to ask the lottery, they take something else beside. So from the tobacco, we do only 7%. It's not too much money for us to do it from the tobacco. But all we do it, bring the customer to the store, then they have something, when we do more business, and they know our store how look like inside. That's how we try to do it, sir.
And if I could add a couple more things for you. Again, they've had their customers have asked for them to sell tobacco. They're eliminating the tobacco. As of right now, they are not selling anything else but the tobacco. That's what they're limited to. And they were in front of you for a special use permit for this business. They are having a sign permit pending, so they are trying to get added sign for that. And again, too, their sales, they are classified as a convenient type store. Because tobacco stores are not allowed in the downtown business district, but convenience stores are. So they are currently classified as a convenient type store, and it's been explained to them they cannot sell more than 50% of their tobacco sales. If they do, they are now no longer a convenience store and would be considered a tobacco store.
No more than 50% of total sales is tobacco. Right.
It's only behind us. We do shelf behind us, so we can only hand it. No one can touch by their hand. We do it by ourselves. We service the customer when they come.
Yes.
My question is about the vape sales. I know that they're not being proposed at this time. But I guess I'm just, my question is kind of what happens in the future? Is that something that under this permit or this license they can just start doing? Or do they have to come back before us for a different type of license to sell vape products?
Does the village attorney want to answer that, or
We've
should I
been
answer?
addressing this for quite a while. Let Tom.
I'll real quick, and I think John may, because we had a discussion about this earlier today. We do not currently license vape sales, vape stores, nor does the state. So because the state doesn't, we currently don't have anything. But we've been looking at, and John has been researching it for some time period. Tobacco or vape is not tobacco, because vape is nicotine sales, which is not regulated by the state nor by us. Tobacco is. So to answer your question, Trustee Simonovich, is that if they are granted the tobacco license today, Mr. Elia has indicated that right now they are not selling vape, but he indicated as of earlier this week, they're thinking about it, they might. There's nothing for us, that the village-wise, that can prevent them from doing so, because anywhere they do not need a license. And I'll let John expound.
Yeah, I mean, if this applicant was not coming in for a tobacco license, it could still sell vape products.
Okay.
The restriction is they can't be a standalone vape store where 50% or more of their sales come from this, or 50% of their revenue comes from the sale of vape products. That's not allowed in the B1 business district.
And again, their position is now, they're just asking, seeking, they are not, as of right now, as we stand here today.
For tobacco license only for today.
What the tobacco commissioner, the mayor serves as tobacco commissioner, can do, and he is the one who issues the license, if a license is made available, is impose reasonable restrictions on the license. So he can restrict the space behind the counter where tobacco and nicotine products are displayed for sale, and that can include a restriction on, the amount of space dedicated to vape products as well as tobacco products.
John, is this already a special use where it's at?
No, it's just a retail shop.
That's
So
a retail, that's zone retail there on Lincoln?
Permitted use.
They had to come to us to get the okay. Excuse me. We've been researching it, and I don't want to pick on the flower shop, but at one point, they were selling vape products because it's not regulated, it's not licensed, so you don't have to have any specific, you have to be something other than a vape shop.
And I drove down Ogden Avenue just this afternoon. You'll see there's a vape store just east of the Humidor, west of the Humidor on 63rd Street. You'll see Tobacco Vape. There's at least two of them down there. I know gas stations were selling vape, even if they do or don't have a tobacco license. If, like the mayor said, the flower shop wanted to sell vape, they can. There's nothing that would prevent them from doing it. And that's why we've been looking at for some type of legislation that we can look forward to in the future.
I just am shocked there is no legislation in the pipeline on this, given the impact on the youth right now. I'm just.
It's regulated by the federal government. It's a nicotine product, and tobacco likewise is a nicotine product. Other non-home rule communities do regulate and license it. I think it's within our purview to do so. So it's something we're working towards.
And, I'm sorry, I don't need Mayor, but maybe it sounded, put you at a little bit of ease. We have had 2 instances within the last year where we've had complaints from parents that their children were going to a certain store on 63rd Street buying vape. The detectives got their agent, went in, the person sold vape, or the detectives saw someone selling vape. They charged them under the state criminal statutes. So we can take enforcement when we can, and they do. That person, the two of them, it was the same store in both places where the parent was complaining about, and they have since fired that one employee, but they were charged criminally. There's nothing we could do with them as far as our ordinances or tobacco licensing or hearing that way. But the offender was charged and had to go to Wheaton. It's not held locally, so.
Great to hear. Thank
Not
you.
to say that we ignore it, or we not ignore it, we can't do anything. The police department is on it, and I think they did it one other place too.
And I think it's almost 1 year, and it'd be illegal to sell it. Now in Chicago, in some state, it's illegal to sell it. By that time, it will be illegal anywhere to sell the vape. So it's step by step. They will cancel it.
Coming, yeah.
It's coming up. Yeah. That's why we don't depend on it that too much.
I'm gonna say one thing, and Trustee Barker has something. Tom laid out the 11 points or different things that are involved in making decisions. And I don't know if you've seen that residential versus, so that's what you would consider when you approve it or not approve it. And Trustee Barker.
So might be several people that would respond to this, but is there any other convenience stores in the CBD, in that classification, that have a similar request, or they're providing tobacco products?
If you give me a second,
It's a convenience store. I know they got alcohol. They got cigarettes too.
Cigarettes,
Gas
yeah.
station,
On
gas
gas.
station.
That is- It's called convenient, but is that categorized in our?
just very quickly, not only convenience store, but you have the Uptown and Potbelly, which have tobacco.
I saw that, but,
Yeah.
classification with the gas station up there that was,
We had to approve that.
Seems it's already
yes.
here.
I'm just saying if other businesses that are classified as convenience have cigarettes, I don't like it at all, but I am bothered by vape, right? Fair.
Right, but you have to be fair. Yeah. That's a good point.
You look at, we have 200 North Castro, I'd imagine that would be the convenient.
Yes.
Yeah, that is,
Yeah.
they have cigarettes.
So that would be the convenient Potbelly and Uptown in the central business district that I can see from the current licensing list that is allowed to sell tobacco at this
The
time.
point is, even without it, they could sell it. So we're looking at ways that we could regulate it.
For vape, you're talking about.
Yes, just vape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But we're talking just tobacco
just
only.
tobacco and
Yeah.
convenient as well. Okay, thank you.
Any other, Trustee Barry?
Again, thank you guys for your investment in Westmont. I know you've been there a while now. How are things going?
It's good. Start to pick up. We're doing good, and the people start to like us, like our store, and keep come back to the store when they come to.
So tobacco is not a make or break for you on the store?
Tobacco is bring more customer for us, because the customer come ask about it. He don't find it, he'll never come back again.
Sure.
Yeah, he come. Do you have tobacco, cigarette, something? No. He thank you and he leave, and we don't see him again. That's why we wanna keep. And we have the box for people with suggestion stuff. What you suggest to get more, we do the box to get opinion about the customer. What he like more. Majority need tobacco. Everyone suggests tobacco. You need to add the tobacco license to your store. And we told them we are in processing. We don't say we don't have it. we see what processing, so we can keep them come to check again, check again.
I'm glad business is good, and you're a brave man to have a suggestion box, I'll tell you that. So, thank you. Thank you.
If I could ask, how many people, or in your estimation, come in and want just tobacco, and if you don't have it, they leave? Do most of your customers want tobacco, but do they also buy something else at the same time?
If they find, like Laro, they come to Laro and they buy some stuff besides the Laro. Laro is only 2% in Laro, and every dollar 2 cents. We don't do money from the Laro, but they bring customer for us to take something else from the store.
And I will just close with that. They have been very excited about this. They've been looking for this. They looked at other locations in the Central Business District, which would wanted alcohol. They didn't quite have the size. So now they are not seeking alcohol, they're only seeking tobacco, and they both are very excited about this process.
Okay, small business, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second?
Motion made second. Any comments from anybody in the audience? Board? I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Barker,
Yes.
trustee Little,
Yes.
trustee Nero,
Yes.
trustee Simonovic,
Yes.
trustee Barry,
Yes.
trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Did I get everybody?
Yes.
Motion passes. I say the only, and I could apply a condition, is just that they sell it behind the counter in a limited space and not throughout the whole
No,
store.
not the whole store, sir. It's only behind us.
Mayor, you are allowed, and we can talk later, the mayor is allowed to add restrictions to the licenses. He does this regularly with tobacco and other liquor ones. We'll get together, I guess one of my issues was, we have with another store, the butts. But people are not standing outside smoking, they're taking their cigarettes and leaving, so it may not be an issue. But the mayor can institute requirements that he sees fit onto the license itself, if any at all.
And I think that's the only one, is just to confine it to behind your counter,
Yes, sir.
similar to everyone else.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thanks. New business B, annexation of 4119 North Lincoln Street. Board to consider ordinance approving the voluntary annexation of 4119 North Lincoln Street into the Village of Westmont. Director Hennerfein.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Board. So it's not all that often that we have voluntary annexations, but I don't think we're unfamiliar with them. So this property, 4119, and if I can ask Brian to turn on the overhead, I went ahead and printed the map. So I'll show you where it is. It is right here. This is the intersection of Ogden and Cass Avenue. So it is right behind the tire store that is there at the intersection. It is one property north, so there is one property that separates this property from the property to south, but because the backside of this property actually touches Westmont, so it touches that property that is over on Cass Avenue, it can be annexed into the village. So why do people typically want to annex? They want village water. So the water line is in close proximity. It is a fairly easy hookup. This property is currently vacant in Liberty Park. They do plan on developing it with a new house. Now, we don't ask for any plans on the new house at this stage. We just state to them it will be zoned R3 when you come into the village. You have to meet the R3 bulk standards in order to build, and they've indicated to the village that they can meet the R3 bulk standards, which includes lot coverage, setbacks, heights, and other requirements on their driveways and such. So that's what's before
Joe,
you.
you did comment on, and just so the board is aware, anybody who voluntarily annexes has to be touching some of the property.
Yes,
Westmont.
so I'll give the quick lesson on annexation. If it does not touch our village, then we would enter into a pre-annexation agreement, and it was basically, there are several properties in Liberty Park that have these pre-annexation agreements that don't touch. So the agreements basically say that when you become contiguous, or when a property from Westmont touches you, then you automatically annex into the village. So basically, in advance of when we grow towards that property, we make an agreement with them, and then in those cases, we make them pay to install the water line to get it to their home. So This is a voluntary annexation. It will be brought into the village. It will expand our border by the dimensions of this lot.
Can I elaborate on that?
Yes.
So,
You're right.
Tony pointed out that there might be a variety of reasons that someone would want to incorporate into the municipality, for other services, but it is typically for access to potable water. So, on there, you might recall that you recently approved, construction of a water main improvement down that block, that first block from Ogden to 41st Street, and then a little bit down 41st Street itself. So there's a lot of interest on this block for water, access to water, and it was what inspired us to, expend the money on the improvement so that we can capture it. The requirement is of the village that if you want access to the water utility, you need to be incorporated if you have the ability to. And then that's what he explained, the pre-annexation agreement. So we do have some out-of-town customers that pay a different rate for the water itself, but the expectation is the annexation.
And we anticipate that when that water main gets built, you will see a lot of these annexations occur.
Joe, do you have a lot size for that?
I know it's 50 feet wide, I believe it's 150 feet deep. It's
50 feet wide?
Yeah, so, if you remember, we had a discussion about should we amend our zoning ordinance.
We did.
And that will be one of the proposals. And it is to.
It is indeed.
It is to accommodate these types of lots so we know how to space things when stuff builds on them.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Just quickly, so what would be I guess in just a rough number, but what is the overall cost? If I was that resident and I wanted to annex and get water hooked up and go through that process, is it 20,000, 10,000, 5,000? Like, where does that put us?
I'm going to look over towards Amy, if Amy's here, because I don't know what our current tap fees are.
I don't remember, but to run a water service is about 8,000 to 10,000.
So 8,000 to 10,000.
And then is there an annexing fee?
There is no annexation fee, there are no impact fees in this situation, because there's no subdivision that is associated.
They have to prepare their own plat, though, and have those
Yes,
costs
there were
done.
some administrative costs because we have to go record an annexation plat with the county.
So I do want to elaborate on there. So if this is a vacant lot and it's new construction, it's pretty straightforward. But the other interested people on this block and in that whole subdivision are existing homes. Some on a community well, some on individual wells. And when those individual wells are in the backyard and they want to switch to a municipal water supply in the front, the costs can go up because you've got interior things that have to be adapted to, or run your service all the way to the back of the house. And
This water would be coming from Cass, though, right?
from Lincoln Street,
Oh, we've already put the water on Lincoln then?
we are putting it in.
I see.
It's do we go out to bid? Out to bid right now. First taker.
Do I have a motion to approve the annexation?
Motion to approve, Nero.
Second, Guzzo.
Motion made and second. Any additional comments? Mr. Fleck's got to make sure he gets on the tax rolls for the Park District, because that's automatic. He's already looking at me. If seeing no other questions, roll call, please.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
Motion,
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
motion
I got you,
passes.
didn't
We'll move on to new business C, James Long Park Site Plan Amendment and Variance. Board to consider ordinance approving request by the Westmont Park District regarding the property located at 867 and 888 Blackhawk Drive, which is James M. Long Park, for the following. 1, zoning ordinance variance to construct a maintenance garage within a required rear yard setback in the manufacturing district. And 2, site plan amendment approval for a maintenance garage. Director Henderfein.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if this feels like deja vu, it is. So this is a project that's been approved once before. The garage needed to be relocated from the original site that it was going to be built. Rather than building it off to the east side of the existing parking lot that's there. It's now going to occupy some of those spaces. Because it is still within proximity of where it was, it needs another variance, which it received last time. It had a unanimous positive recommendation at Planning and Zoning last night. We anticipated that. That's why we turned it around in one day so that it could get to the board right away. And I have Director Fleck here if you have any questions for him.
I'm watching the screen, it looks like a foreign movie. The mouth is moving separate from the words.
There's a delay. Mayor, trustees, staff, Director Hennefine provided the background. I don't know if you need to see this again and revisit it. It says new business on the agenda. For us, it is old business. So we do have to relocate the position of this proposed, what we're calling a satellite maintenance garage at James Long Park. I'll just put it up here for reference. James Long Park is on the south side. This entire area was one lot, one park site originally before Black Hawk Drive was constructed and put through to the junior high in Oakwood Drive. The triangle to the north here is all Park District property, even though some of it's behind the fence for the Willow Crest Golf Course Maintenance Yard, because they do lease it from a Park District by a lease originally created in 1984 by the village to help the development of the golf course and the hotel. We cannot build it where it was originally slated, and that is the red box. We are now moving it to the area identified as yellow, which are the north parking spaces, which have been utilized for our dumpsters and garbage for 12, 15 years. I've lost count how long they've been there. In short, that is where we're planning to put this. If you have any other questions, I do have a more detailed map. If you want to see that, I can provide that as well. But we're here for the site plan and the variance setback request.
Little history, Oakwood subdivision donated those 4 acres, and the village held on to the land until the road went through, and then they deeded the rest to the Park District. So what I like is you're going to screen the fencing. You're going to put a windscreen to block the view.
Same as we've done at our maintenance yard on Quincy Street. So yes, it won't be just chain link fabric. It will have a windscreen on it that will hide the dumpsters behind it.
And it doesn't now.
Correct.
Now, is that something, do we put in ordinance that if that screening becomes disarrayed and so forth, like we have in the golf course, that they have to maintain it, not, so we don't run into a situation like the golf course?
It's in the ordinance that they have to continually maintain, repair, and replace the fencing and landscaping shown on the site plan, and was discussed at the public hearing last night.
And rest assured, Trustee Nero will let us know and call me when he goes to play pickleball across the street.
Well, you know, it's one of those things, oh, the Park District would never let it go like that. Well, that's what we thought with the golf course too, you know, and that's one of those things that, you know, has come.
Well, we're here to stay.
The biggest
Bob, is
thing
the
on the
plan to
golf
s-
course is it was optional. We didn't require that. They decided to put that up for protection. Trustee Nero.
Just a question, Bob, is the plan still to redo that parking lot?
Yes, as part of this, the larger project would be first, build this, expand that paving area to accommodate the dumpsters.
Nice.
And then the last piece would be to redo the parking lot and the access drive.
So you still have a decent amount of parking in there then?
There are 12 spaces.
That's perfect for a basketball guy. Yeah, great. Okay, cool.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second, you're on.
Motion made and seconded. Any additional comments? Board members? No. Roll call, please.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
And Trustee Barry. Did I get Barry?
You got everybody. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that.
Excellent. Thank you. Have a great night.
New business D, IGA with Metra, pedestrian crossing tunnel. Board to consider ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Commuter Rail Division of the Regional Transportation Authority, which is Metra, for a grade separated pedestrian crossing. And I'm going to turn to Manager May to give some additional information.
Thank you. The best way to describe this is to describe the ongoing project. And this started with the efforts of, so there's Burlington Northern Santa Fe, who owns the actual railroad line. Metra then has lease agreements to operate the commuter rail service throughout there. There's a relationship between the village and BNSF for owning our infrastructure on the BNSF line, and there's an agreement between Metra and BNSF for what they do. This is going to be part of an agreement between us and Metra, the other pair of that triangle. Why do we need an agreement? Metra is, for years, but they're investing on our behalf a lot of money to reconstruct 100% of the platform and bring it up to ADA compliance and other nice features with that, but reconstruct the whole thing. And then that got them in the depot area where the grades of the platform have to be a certain height above the top of rail, of which they're not now. So the platform's going to be a little bit higher than the rail. And so there's a lot of work inside the depot building that has to be done to accommodate that project, and Metra's picking that all up. In advance of the work, you would have noticed earlier in the year, Burlington Northern was in and they were doing they were doing tie replacement, and they were doing all that to get it done now because after the platforms are built, they won't be able to do it later. They did the tie replacement, and they pulled out the pedestrian crosswalk and just announced they're not putting it back. They don't like it, they don't want it there, we're eliminating them everywhere, sorry, but tough. And that got us into, there's a lot to this, I'm simplifying it, but you all approved, we entered into an agreement with the same design engineers that are working on for Metra to do a phase one analysis of a alternative pedestrian crossing, which could have been over or under, and then went through that whole process and was concluded that going over is thoroughly impractical because of the height that needs to be attained and signal tower conflicts. So there's a pedestrian tunnel in design that Metra agreed to do the design work. That brings us to here. They're doing all that. They're doing all of it on their dime. It's a tremendous investment for us, but they want it very clear that they're not responsible. They're not going to be part of any of the construction of the tunnel. That's up to us to manage, us to administer, and Amy's got, multiple grant sources, available, and we continue to pursue all of those because it's an expensive endeavor. So this agreement is mostly on the behalf of Metro saying, this is the end of what we're doing for you, you've got the rest of the parts, and it's pretty much that.
We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Barker.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any additional comments? Anybody? Roll call, please.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee, I've got to look around here. Linda Little?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Got me? Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
And Trustee Barry? Right?
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll move on to new business E. Proposed aggregate tax levy. This is an annual thing, village and library. Board to consider a motion determining the proposed aggregate property tax levy for 2024. And I got Finance Director Alter.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. I'm not sure if Brian's able to zoom in on just this chart down here on the bottom.
Oh, you stumped him.
If not, it's okay. So before you tonight is the proposed aggregate levy for the village as well as the library and also the special service area otherwise known as the North Fire Ambulance, for fire ambulance services. So each December, the village is required to approve and file a tax levy ordinance with the county. So this tax levy is the village's legal request to receive property taxes for parcels within the village boundaries. The official ordinance is not expected to come before the village board for a couple more weeks in December 19th. But before that, prior to that ordinance being passed, the village board is required to approve the aggregate tax levy, which is happening here tonight. So the total aggregate levy for the 2024 property taxes totals a little over 11 million at 11,010,882, and is a little less than 5% of the prior year total extended levy, which Brian has up is that left-hand column there, the 2023 extension. So the village share of this total aggregate levy is a little over 8 million, at $8,461,288. The library's share is $2,437,087, and the special service area is $112,507. So as a home rule community, the village is subject to a tax cap known as PTEL by state statute. So pursuant to this law, the village is limited to its property tax revenue that it can grow by the CPI, which is inflation, which is already set by the state at 3.4%. And then plus the value of any new construction or annexation into the village. That is really the unknown value at this point in time. But that new property would be subject to the village's property tax rates. So right now, that is part of this, that right-hand column where it says expected. That number is can be guesstimated, and right now that new construction, based on some reports from the township assessor, right now baked into this is about 3.6 million of new construction. But like I said, when the final numbers come out, when DuPage County does the final tax levy next spring, it usually ends up being just a little bit different than what the township assessor has at this point in time.
Oh, go ahead.
Yep. So, all said and told, the village will probably end up receiving probably around the ballpark of a 3.73% increase to its property tax revenues when all the dust settles, when you factor in the CPI that's already set and a factor for that new construction in the village.
And again, with the tax cap, you don't want to lose the new growth and the potential for CPI. And I'm sure the library wants to get what they should get. This doesn't trigger the 105% for legal notice?
It does not. So it's under, so the total aggregate is 4.9 under that value. So it would not trigger that.
Am I correct that we did trigger it last year?
I think we asked them to publish it last year. I don't think we triggered.
I think the last couple of years, what has triggered it has been the special service area, the North Fire Protection District.
Oh, okay.
Because the way that worked is, it took us 5 years to get up to the right rate for them, because their district, before it ended, had a much lower rate, and we said, ideally, we want you to get up to paying the same rate that our residents do, but we'll give you 5 years to get there. So each year, we've been increasing it well over the 5% to be able to hit those rates. But this year, we finally cut up last year, so now we don't have to increase it over the 5%. So it doesn't trigger that same notification requirement.
I also can't speak for the last 2 years, but CPI is also, the last 2 years, has been at 5% by state statute. And so you're already right there at that truth in taxation 5% number already with CPI, and then any new construction would already tip you over that 5% already. So that also could have been a reason too.
I just feel like I remember we had to like actually post and have a hearing and stuff last year. Okay, so.
And then I think, history, I think PTAL was set up sometime in the early 90s, maybe 91, 92, I can't remember the exact year. So the last 2 years were actually the first time in state history that PTAL was at 5%, where the CPI number was at 5%. That's never happened before, except for the last 2 years, going back to the early 90s when it was set up.
Every taxing body has the same requirement.
I was just going to say, several years ago, even when we did not have to have the public hearing, the village had chosen to have the public hearing and to publish something in the paper, even though it wasn't the full truth in taxation. So we could do that again if we want to, or we, don't have to go through that process since we're not at that 5%.
Do I have a motion to, do we need to accept the proposed aggregate, or just?
So I need a motion. So this agenda item now is for the village and the library. It's a little unclear in the memo, but the village and library share is, together is, the aggregate extension is $10,898,375. So I need a motion to approve the aggregate extension for the village and the library in that amount.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
So moved, Barry.
Second, Little.
Any additional comments? Anybody? Roll call, please.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Little?
Yes?
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
Trustee Allen Altig? You're not a trustee, I'm sorry.
Congratulations.
I was going to make you that.
Get everybody?
No, she didn't get Guzzo.
No Guzzo or no Nero.
Yes. Go and Nero.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Stay up there. We'll go to new business F, proposed aggregate tax levy for Westmont Special Service Area 2, or to consider a motion determining the proposed aggregate property tax levy for 2024 for the Westmont Special Service Area 2. Director Altig.
Sure, this was partially already addressed just a few minutes ago. Like the memo says, the aggregate levy for the special service area is $112,507 for this next coming year. Anybody has any questions?
Similar to the last one. Do I have
Yep.
a motion to
Yep.
approve?
Motion to approve, Simonovich?
Second, Little.
Any additional comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Simonovich?
Yes.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee, I think that's it.
Guzzo.
Guzzo.
Motion passes. Just one quick, with the village and library levy, the property that's in a TIF district still remains at the level that we froze it at?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the additional money then goes into the TIF
Yes.
district?
Yep.
And there's no approval of any sort of, no, it's just automatic?
Yep.
Okay.
Until the TIF obviously expires out 9-10 years from now. I think there's still mostly 8, 9, 10 years left in both those TIFs.
But when it expires, we'll definitely have to do a truth in taxation notice, because it'll be well over 5%, it'll increase, right? Or do you don't have to?
We would probably have to do a truth in taxation
Yeah.
at that point in time.
'Cause it'll-
And certainly there's other taxing bodies who would have to do that as well.
Okay. Moving on to new business G, water rate adjustment discussion. Board to discuss proposed water rate adjustments, and we've been talking about this for a while, and I'm going to turn to Director Altick and maybe Assistant Village Manager Parker.
Sure, so I'll just briefly set the stage and then let Alan kind of talk through a lot of the details. This is something that the board's been talking about for quite a while and something that we've discussed at committee, but we felt it was important that before we move forward to anything of deciding on the rates, that we have a discussion at this level of the meeting with the full board, public, recorded on TV, those sort of things, so that everybody's able to know about it and have a little bit more of those details. This has been a project that's been worked on by lots of different staff, including a lot of work from the Public Works Department, and then more recently, also including communications in terms of how do we get the message out to the public so they're aware of any of these changes. And our plan is to have this discussion and then start more of that campaign once we've had this initial first discussion at this level with the board. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Altick to kind of walk us through the details.
Thank you, Spencer. So the first area, or where I'm going to start off with, is give a little background and context to this water rate analysis that was really started quite some time ago. The village's current rate structure has been in place for quite some time now, and so it was time to take a hard look at our rate structure and see if that is a rate structure that is working for us, going to work for us moving forward, or if a better approach will serve the village and its consumers better. To achieve this goal, the village hired a consulting firm, Raftellus, last fall, 2023, to assist with this project. Raftellus is a consulting firm that specializes in utility rate analysis across the country. They've worked locally, not only for Village of Westmont, but also Burridge and Naperville as well, and have done some larger national projects for the city of Austin and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as well. So after some preliminary discussion with the board and staff, a few main themes or concepts were asked to be incorporated into the rate structure. Those items are referenced in bullet point 4 there. And those factors are affordability, conservation, cost of service allocation, which I like to kind of think of in simple terms as fairness. Those users or consumers who drive a lot of the costs pay more for those costs than someone who doesn't. And the last point is sustainability. So the last bullet point there is kind of peek behind the curtain of what I'll focus on over the next couple slides. This is the process that we went through of how the rates were developed. It's the analysis and the thought that we went through in terms of what are the financial needs for the utility, for the water utility moving forward, and how to best develop those rates. What is that rate design and able to ensure the village receives proper revenues to be able to meet the water utility's needs. So going through that first process of kind of that financial need, what is the financial position of the village? So 2 areas that I wanted to focus on for this discussion, and there's many other costs that are part of the utility, such as DuPage Water Commission costs, which are fixed throughout the analysis performed by Raftellus, and some debt costs that are also factored into some of that analysis as well. The two that I wanted to focus on as part of this discussion are operating costs. And due to inflation, most categories within operating costs saw an increase of all in about a little over 3%. Some line items are a little bit different, like healthcare costs are projected to go up 7% moving forward, but some other line item costs are projected to go up 2% and some even at 3%. All in, operating costs are a little over 3%. That's labor, like I said, health insurance benefits, materials that go into running the utility. And next, and maybe the biggest cost is capital. It's right now, as it's moving forward, expected to consistently be the largest line item cost within the water utility. And it is seeing, we're projecting out increases moving forward of 4%. Just to provide a little bit of context of what we've seen in the construction industry recently, I have another graph on the next page that shows this too. But since 2018, we've seen a little over 46% increases in costs just on construction alone. So this is what the costs are going up to maintain our infrastructure in our community. And the last bullet point are just some of the major projects that we'll see as part of our capital planning as part of the analysis by Raftellus. So this upcoming year, the big project is the North Water Tower at almost $6.4 million. In 2030, another water tower project, the replacement of the Central Tower at $8 million. And then in 2029, the coating or painting of the South Tower at almost 1.6. And those are in costs related to that year. So those are costs kind of pushed forward to what they will likely cost in those years. Another 2 projects is water main replacement Right now, the village is targeting to replace 1 mile of water main annually, and that ironically also equals 1% of the village's water main. So that's 1% of the water main every year to be replaced. And in today's dollars, that's 2.97 million. In 2033, it jumps all the way up to 4.22 million. And miscellaneous capital, just like the name sounds, it's kind of a catch-all. So that's trucks, vehicles, equipment, technological components that make up the infrastructure. So those costs right now are somewhere around the ballpark of 800,000, and then with inflation, they're supposed to go up to almost 1.2 million by the time we hit to 2033. So this is most meant to portray kind of the large capital needs that we have now and moving into the future. So this is a chart that...
Just real quick, is our current new public works facility, is that factor into those numbers on the water rates? Is paying back on that?
Some of the debt that went to pay for the new public works facility, part of it is in the water fund, and obviously in some of the maintenance as well.
This would be on.
I think maybe we'd like to see what, because I know these discussions were started as part of that. I wasn't here for the delay of them, but it seems like this was tied to the public works facility originally, correct?
I think it was tied, like, pre-COVID or right during COVID, we had a plan to increase it before the Public Works building, and we decided not to. The Public Works building, in order to finance it, we had to have revenue-generating sources, so water, and then we committed some places to eat tax to cover the debt. So, yeah, water is paying 40% or whatever it uses for the building, and the rest is paid for by places eating.
I almost think that should be indicated with these numbers to show that we are still paying for that building. I mean, that wasn't paid for just because it's built, you know.
Right. Sure.
It was 2 years,
for
right?
all the infrastructure, and actually we were, to answer your question, even pre-COVID, we were behind on scheduled rate adjustments to not do it because the City of Chicago, whether it's DuPage Water Commission or City of Chicago before them, they keep changing rates that we pass through, and we didn't want to aggravate that. So our increment was behind, and it was like, we'll do it next year, and then COVID hit, and it was like, well, we're really not doing it now, and now COVID's coming up on 5 years, before that was initiated. So we're 5, 6, 7 years behind schedule on this. And that would include the building and all infrastructure, not the whole building. When you said part of it, it's a public works facility, but part of it is the water division or the separate utility. The enterprise is its own thing, the water utility.
And we held off at COVID, that was for 2 years, right?
4 years.
We held off, we haven't raised it in 4 years due to COVID.
I think during part of it, we've done some very small raises just to keep up with inflation, like a 2% raise or something like that. But the amounts of, excuse me, before COVID, we had planned to increase some for infrastructure. And then we said, when we were looking at the Public Works facility, we said, okay, well, we'll keep going on these larger increases for, the few that we need to for the infrastructure, plus expand that a couple of years so we can build the Public Works facility. And then I think all of those got delayed and not done during COVID.
And we always, by law, we always have to give the pass-through? Is that how that works?
Well, it's not by law, but if you don't, then we're eating it on behalf of the user. So the rate that we pay,
We're going to pay for it one way or another.
Yeah.
we're a customer ourselves. We purchase water, and then our utility is the distribution system. So if we're paying more for the bulk water, if you don't pass that through, you're negative. Yeah.
I think, Harold, maybe you weren't part of the previous conversation that showed we're way behind everybody in the area, unfortunately. And then we had a perfect storm of holding back and holding back. What bothers me here is that our maintenance of the system is once every 100 years. And that's just, to me, it's not enough, right? We're not putting enough towards infrastructure to maintain what we have going, and we're behind the 8 ball on top of it. So it, it kills us to have to raise it. 4% seemed like a lot when we're looking at the numbers, but I don't know how we don't.
Well, that's why I asked, because it feels like deja vu. Because honestly, I think my very last meeting was these discussions. I mean, I remember Frank Brady coming in and saying, I don't want to be the new trustee getting labeled with a new water increase. So I didn't realize you guys didn't do anything while I was gone. I didn't realize that.
We're waiting for you to get back.
And Mayor, can I add too, Westmont's not alone here. I mean, just about every community in DuPage County is facing the same challenge. I mean, I've quoted before, Elmhurst is a bigger increase than we're doing. A lot, this is not, I mean, it's everybody in a similar position. I think a lot of it has to do with just capital costs increasing and people with COVID kind of put everybody on stall. So I don't think we're in the worst position. Well, we know we're not, but it's something it's all over DuPage, not what you do.
This chart here has a pretty
Want to
good,
finish? Yeah.
pretty good example, maybe a little bit about how far behind that we are. So the blue, this is a slide that Revtalis had put together part of their presentation a month or so ago. And then I added general inflation, which is that red or maroon line. So this is the cumulative increase in our water rates since 2018. Basically 9% is what we've increased rates since 2018. But then you compare that to the other lines of inflation, which is, like I said, that red line kind of in the middle at almost 26%. And then you look at construction costs, which are up 46%.
Wow.
So that's the spread.
Also a COVID thing and the supply chain thing and everything.
Mayor, I think the communication on this thing has to be extreme, to push this out there, because the problem is, it's not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing thing.
Every year. We don't need a motion tonight, do we? We're just.
I think this is just discussion.
This is just discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the timetable is, I was going to get to in the back of this. So tonight is the discussion, and depending on how the discussion goes, the thought was to bring an ordinance back with the water rates and the rate structure design in December the 19th. And then the rates would go into effect, just so we have enough time for the communication of all this, is to have it go into effect with the February 28th utility bills.
So it's a couple months of.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then communication would start on Monday, based on discussions that are being held here today.
Can we do an open forum or something and invite people to come in outside of the board format?
We can do anything you want.
No, not really, but, I mean, just to give them an opportunity to ask questions, because, you get something printed or you get something electronic, and it's not clear, but to have something where people can come in, it's gonna rev some people up, because it is a big deal.
Yeah.
And if we give them an opportunity to talk and learn, the education piece is key to making it something that we can all swallow.
Can we just do it like at a normal board meeting in the beginning, have a.
Kind of doing it now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Invite people, instead of just putting
Everybody's
it on an
always
agenda.
invited to every meeting. If you
I
do a
know.
special invitation on
I
certain
know.
topics, you've got
He shows up.
that thing, but you'll have this,
That's
and
part
it's
of the messaging,
recorded,
though.
and then we do that, and then when you bring it, the ordinance for, approval or for a vote, you don't even have to vote on it that night. You can take the discussion.
Well, it's just
at
nice
that
to
time.
advertise it, though, as, hey, we're going to discuss this, instead of just relying on the agenda. Sometimes we got to be a little more proactive, I think. And that's what we talked about with getting Larry McIntyre involved, and I just feel like people would come more if we said, hey, we're going to talk about this, it's on the agenda, it's
So
an
we
open discussion.
talk about the website build-out that we're,
Yeah, so on Monday, the village is expecting to launch a website that will explain a lot of the what's and ifs about this whole project. And part of that will be a video component of that too, for those who like to watch videos, be a video component that explains a lot of this as well on the website. And then part of it is a calculator as well. Some of the discussion, the proposal from Raftelis
It is good.
changes the rate structure not only the rates themselves, but also increase inclining block rates for residential consumption over 16,000 gallons in a bill cycle, as well as some increases to the fixture rates over time. So all those calculators are going to be built into the website, where a resident can put in their account number from their utility bill. It'll pull back their utility rate, their meter size for that fixed meter fee, and all they have to do is plug in their estimated consumption, and it'll spit out what their bill will be over the next 3 or 4 years.
So the night of the ordinance, we should have a special part of the agenda for discussion.
An old-fashioned opportunity to come in and, talk about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you might get 2 people, but at least we advertise it, we throw it out there that it's going to be discussed. No one looks at our agendas,
And just, to be clear, I'm not saying anything like be secretive about it. I'm saying if you go to a special effort to directly reach out and do that on this subject matter, and you don't do it for other subject matter.
Sure.
That's the inconsistency, that's the
Then they feel
problem.
like we're hiding other things.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, why this and not, the other? So
Right.
there's nothing wrong with having it as a discussion item again, but you should, I'm just saying you do it as part of this meeting. We haven't had a committee of the whole format for 11 and a half years,
Yeah.
Maybe there's.
It's unfortunate, Reed and I were looking at it, because where we tried to help the residents and not give them the impact, it's going to impact them more today. Because when you really look at the chart, which is great, thank you, you can see that we were even, if not above, our rate.
Yeah.
And then when we kept it the same, everyone else kept increasing, and today it's left that shortfall where it's gonna be a little bit sticker shock. I personally have noticed it, then again, I leave my water on sometimes, Spencer, we don't. But in general, I think we tried to help, and it may come back to bite us a little bit.
The same what time is not just the era, but the time of year that you do this too. What's dangerous is to have it effective
Summer.
in July when, when all the outdoor water usage is going on, and then, a big impact is even a bigger impact, so.
Well, and when we look at 2020, back then, we were in uncharted territory. No one knew what was going on with COVID. We had no idea how long COVID was going to go on, what it was going to affect, and we made the best decision at that time for the residents. And now we need to revisit it because we need to continue to have the funding we need for our infrastructure. We've got improvements, we've got water meters, we've got water mains that have to be done, and it's going to affect every one of us that are sitting here as well.
So we can put it on unfinished business for December 5th and, re-advertise it again, and
Yeah.
people have access to the website, and then we can stay on schedule for the 19th for
There you go.
as a vote.
That's all we can do.
And I will say,
Amy's fault.
excuse me. We are looking at probably doing some news releases to point people to the new website, and,
That's good.
so we'll certainly have that. And one thing we could consider potentially, unless it, is worried that it would make other things look difficult, is we could mention that it's going to be discussed at the next couple of board meetings. In that same news release where we're pointing people to the website to find it, we could at least mention this will be on the agendas and direct people to our agenda center, and it could be another way to remind them how to find what's going on.
Well, not everybody is gonna get to the website.
Yep.
So I'm just looking for an opportunity, and I would say there are certain things that we do that may warrant going above and beyond, and I think that's what we want to be known for. As we went the extra step to try to make you, help you understand this, because it impacts so many people, big or small, right?
I think that's a lot of what we're trying to accomplish with the website, is creating those videos.
it's
It's
great.
another avenue that someone could try to get engaged and understand. Having that bill calculator, it's more transparent. This is what you can expect in your, from your rates and your costs to be moving forward. Trying to be transparent and going above and beyond. That's why we were trying to work to build those types of things.
But don't forget the people that are using a chalkboard, right? Don't forget those people, there's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Does the board have any more questions? I'm going to open it up to the audience. If you have a question, you need to come up to the podium and state your name and, well, that's our normal requirement.
And
We don't want to
We can
now?
talk from that, but
We won't pick it up. For the minutes, we have your name and, there you go, you're on the mic and TV.
Oh, God, I just, anyways. I just
There's not that many people watching.
Yeah, you're
That's
all
good,
right.
because I just jumped out of the shower. No, just real quick, so just real, what is the rate increase gonna be, or is it not clear yet?
yeah, we can talk through a lot of that. We've got several more slides that will go into kind of what the impact will be to the different residents and stuff. So we can certainly go into that for sure.
Okay, and my other question was too, I remember the last time, when you guys approved the second pot shop or weed store or whatever, you said you were gonna maybe use some of those resources to offset the water rate increase?
Yeah, so I will say, excuse me, in regards to that, one of the major things that we've done with this, and from the first time this was presented at committee to the second time, excuse me, there was a big decrease in terms of what that increase would be. So we didn't have to increase it nearly as much the second time. And a big reason for that was looking at the fact that historically the water fund has given some extra money to the capital projects fund, sort of as a payment in lieu of taxes that not everybody does. And so we're pulling that out because, you know, and sort of hoping that additional revenue that we get from some of these other businesses will be able to help give us enough revenue to still maintain some of our capital needs. And so it's sort of moving the money around to be able to still do that, and that's why the rate increase to the residents looks a lot less now than it did the first time the board looked at it at committee.
Okay, all right, thanks.
All right, thanks.
So,
I was
can keep
gonna
going
add
through.
to that, like, so to Spencer's point, moving the money around, so rather than just flat out using the money from marijuana sales, a different approach was just to eliminate an expense of the utility that was basically the same amount. So we achieved the same goal in maybe a simpler route.
Any other questions?
Do we want to go over
Yeah,
the?
we should, if the board's okay, it'd probably be good to at least go through a couple of the slides that show sort of what's the impact to the people on some of those. Sorry, unless you're,
No,
you're trying to get us out quicker,
No,
sorry.
no, I'm not, I'm trying
And
to.
do you have the
letting me
slide on
talk.
here with comparable communities as well? Because I
Yep.
think that really will help the residents understand.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
So I'll briefly talk about some of the rate designs. So one of the recommendations from Raftalis is to begin to increase our fixed charges. And a lot of those reasons are, because there's cost of our system to provide water, whether someone uses that water or not. There's still people to pay for, there's still pipes in the ground to maintain and stuff like that. So a fixed fee helps you realize those revenues to pay for those types of costs that really aren't variable. And it's in line with what we're seeing in really industry-wide. Right now, the village is getting about 3% of its, 2 or 3% of its revenues from fixed charges. Typical industry norm is closer to 25%. So these meter fees based on meter sizes begins to move us into that direction. And by 2033, we get to about 23, 24%. So it's moving us slowly in that direction over the next 9 or so years. And so the bi-monthly fixed charge is typically what we would associate with residential. Residential is billed bi-monthly. And then this next slide is the monthly fixed charge. And this is typically what you would associate with commercial, which are billed monthly. And so this is the proposed water rates by Raftalis, once again, out through 2033. Couple things I want to point out is something brand new as part of this is this inclining block rate. And so the first 16,000 gallons of water used, this is for residential only, first 16,000 gallons used per bill, so every 2 months, is at a lower tiered rate, identified in that kind of first row. And that is identified more with like core water use, that's bathing, cooking, cleaning, that type of thing. And the additional water usage above that 16,000 gallons is more discretionary, and that would be at a different rate than the first tier. And that only applies to residential. And the thought with Raftalis for that is it really is no such thing as discretionary water usage for a business, and so that's the distinction for that. And then to Spencer's point, I do have several graphs in here just to provide some context. So this is, first two slides I want to show you are residential before moving into some commercial examples. So this is lower volume residential users, what their bill might look like over the next 9 years as we move out to 2033. So it starts with the current where we are today and then moves out to 2033 on the far right. So the lower light blue line is a residential user using 4,000 gallons of water. Just to provide some context, that's the 31st percentile of all water billed in the village. And that larger, darker blue line maybe is 8,000 gallons, what that bill would look like through 2033. And to provide that context, that's about the 40th percentile of a water user. Next is some examples of some larger users. $16,000 is, 16,000 gallons is that cutoff for that first tier rate. That is reflected in, once again, that lighter blue line. That represents a user with that type of bill is in the 67th percentile. And as we move to the darker line, that's a 25,000 gallon per bill user. And that's the 85th percentile type user. So only 15% of bills, residential bills, exceed that.
So just to kind of sum up one piece of this, for all the residents that use less than that 16,000 gallons in a 2-month period, for this first year, their bill will be going up $5 a month, just because we're increasing the flat fee. So that, sorry, not $5 a month, $5 a bill, so $5 every 2 months, which comes to about $2.50 per month.
Right.
If you stay at the 16,000,
Yes, if you're 16,000 or less.
which is what 67% of our residents do.
Yes.
That-
Yes, that's
what am I-
67% of the bill. So
60%
you
of
may
the
be-
bill, people only use the 16,000 gallons and are only gonna see that $5 increase the first year.
Yeah.
That's 67%.
So it sounds, like, it sounds less scary.
Yes. And
When
that's
you put it like
67% of
that.
the bills.
That's the message. That's the message right
Well,
there.
because when you look at the increase in the rates and you're like, that increased rate number looks very big. But when you look at it on what that means for your actual bill, you're talking about $250 a month.
For most
For
people.
67% of our residents. And so, yes, the rate increase the rate's increasing by, I don't know what the percentage is. I don't want to say the wrong thing to everybody, but that number, the rate percentage looks really high, but when you actually look at the dollars, it's not, it's not that bad.
Right.
Yeah. And I will say the percentage that the bill goes up is different based on how many gallons everybody uses.
Right.
So our revenue goes up a large percentage. And like you said, if you're looking at like, how much does the revenue go up to have to get to these levels and looking at those old charts. But when you do look at what does it mean to a bill in terms of dollars and cents, it feels like a smaller amount. And it is, because that's the actual impact that a resident will see this coming year.
And it will also, for people that have higher water usages, one of our goals was to increase conservation as well, and people might reconsider some of their discretionary watering and how they go about, discretionary watering and do a rainwater tank or something, I mean, so it might encourage some conservation as
Those
well.
were themes that were important to the board when this whole process started out with those conservation efforts and things like that. So, and then I'll say, going back to the tiered structure, this is some of the benefit to that is you are able to keep, the rates lower and only at $2.50 increase, I say only, for 67% of our residents it helps because of that tiered rate structure.
And just to confirm, is that 67%, that's 67% of the bills?
So that's 67% of the bills, so not
So
necessarily.
some of the residents might be hitting over 16,000 during the summer. And if they are using it, high usage in the summer and lots of watering and those kind of things, that might make those bills be a little bit higher than that, $2.50.
So, you know, if a resident gets brand new sod or something.
Oh, you're really mathing me out here, man.
All right, 67% of the bills.
But I mean, overall, it's unavoidable. Overall, it's unavoidable, so it's a matter of sucking it up and taking the hit as the board and the mayor and everyone else. I mean,
Us to have that
it's
tap
either that or
right to
you
work.
kick it down the road, and you're really gonna have to do something then. You know, you're talking major
Right, if we don't
increases.
maintain our infrastructure, it's only gonna cost more later.
Absolutely.
I think part of it too is we kind of shot ourselves in the foot having over decades a small fixed fee. And that was done from past leadership, but has always been there and.
It's 1986.
Yeah, and there's a value to have, you know, they want that tap to turn on, that costs money, even if you don't use it all the time, so.
Trustee Little.
And let's face it, nobody wants to see a water main break.
No.
And have to deal with, you know, that on your street, and the construction,
your
and the
water.
reconstruction, and the.
Boiling it, yeah.
Boiling the water and all that stuff, it's like,
Are the main breaks increasing?
I would hope not. I hope our main.
Amy, how you doing today?
Yeah.
What we found out, Harold, is they're no longer new. You know, we always said it was new.
We see main breaks approximately 25 per year. We aren't tracking the duration of the interruption. There's an index for that called the SADI, like how many minutes per year your average customer can expect to lose water, which we haven't historically tracked, but you can't expect, if you don't keep up with main replacement and the infrastructure keeps aging, the number of minutes the average customers without water will increase. So you'll see like that level of service impact. We are seeing some of the main breaks are becoming more difficult to repair and taking longer.
But that's also because, I'm trying to think of when we started, I think it was right when in and around when we switched, you know, to DuPage Water Commission, and you won't be directly familiar, but we had a very aggressive, proactive water main replacement program where we switched to plastic, and we were the only one doing that. We kind of pioneered that here, and every year we've been doing water main replacement with the plastic. So the water main breaks that we have now are still on the ductile iron and a little bit of cast iron mains that are still left from whenever they were built, the original water utility, which is older than the community is. So the water utility hit their 100-year anniversary before the villages did, so.
When the plastic was the 70s, was it?
In the early 80s was
Early 80s?
when we started using
But we don't have any
PVC.
problems with the plastic pipe.
That, occasionally, but not nearly to the extent. We don't get the corrosion. It doesn't corrode the same way that the ductile iron or cast iron pipe does. So about 50% of the system is PVC.
No lead.
Yeah, we do have that. We have lead services. There's a US EPA rule now requiring us to replace them all within 10 years, beginning in 2027.
Any other comments, anybody?
Why would you want a lead service?
So discussion's good, we'll look on the 5th to discuss again, and then the 19th, we'll put the ordinance. All right. Moving on to miscellaneous, there's a couple items. The first one is, I think everybody's aware, we're talking about water. We had somebody who was a trustee for a number of years who was very instrumental in getting Lake Michigan water here. He was a trustee under several mayors, and that's Doc Martin, who was a dentist, and he was really active as a trustee. So he passed away, and we put I think everybody got the
I
obituary.
did circulate that, the family contacted us, but, you know, his involvement here was with the water utility, with the very first ever water superintendent was George Rickert. Together, they were doing that, and not just, you know, the infrastructure, but, you know, a lot to do with the modern meter reading and all of that, too. So we were also doing that in advance before other communities were doing it, thanks to his influence.
Yes. So,
Super intelligent guy.
Yeah.
Super, I remember, just
Yeah,
just super intelligent guy.
intense, and was very.
And really a great leader here in the community, for sure.
My other item is I'm going to turn this over to Amy Lee, and she's got an announcement to make.
I'm going to stay seated because I may fall over.
You got a microphone.
With my
there.
nerves. Okay. So I come to this tonight with a mixture of gratitude and emotion as I announce my decision to resign from my position of trustee on the village board, which becomes effective tomorrow. Serving this community has been such a rewarding experience. Over the past 3.5 years, I've had the honor of working alongside our dedicated staff and passionate community members, all of whom share a common goal, which is making this village a better place for everyone who calls it home. I'm truly grateful for the trust and support that the residents of the village and my fellow board members have shown me during my time in office. I've learned so much, not only about local government, but also about the values that make our community unique. Our resilience coming out of the pandemic, our spirit of cooperation, and our commitment to the future. This decision was not made lightly, but is necessary for my career and my family. I would like to thank each of my fellow board members for their collaboration, dedication, and passion. I also want to express my deep appreciation to the village staff, the volunteers, and all of the residents who make this community what it is. It has been a privilege to work alongside such talented and hardworking people. I have to add a special thanks for Chief Gunther. In chairing the Police and Public Safety Committee, it really has made my experience so much more rewarding to be a part of that great group. I'm sorry. I had to go last, huh? As I step away from this role, I am so confident that this village is in good hands and there are great things ahead. And I look forward to seeing what you will achieve. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve. I am so deeply grateful for this experience and for these friendships that I've made along the way. Thank you.
Well said, and you've been remarkable as an addition to this board.
Thank you.
And
Through tonight.
through tonight. But just everybody remember, she was a write-in. And she,
Who knew nothing about anything.
nothing. But that first year, you were learning, you took it in, and in the last 3 years, you've been really, really knowledgeable and assisted this community. So, and then I do have to say, this position is also on the ballot. Amy Lee decided not to run. It's vacant now. I'm going to bring a recommendation to the board in 2 weeks of an individual that I would like to see fill that seat for till the May 1st. And again, I'm probably going to steal from planning and zoning, which I did with Mr. Barry. So in that way, we've got someone who understands our ordinances, understands our policies, that could basically sit in that seat. Never will replace you, but at least the person could get going on it right away. So I'm going to make that recommendation. As the board knows, you have to approve it, and I'll I'll let you know. I think Steve kind of knows, but this individual has been great on P&Z. So, yes, Trent.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Is there cake pops? And there's cake pops.
All right.
Yeah, out there.
You guys.
We should have went first.
Already rated the,
There's
Is there
fewer
any
cake.
other than we're going to miss you? Any
Yeah.
other
Thanks, Amy Lee.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
sidewalks down Wilmette?
Yeah, can we, let's.
You gotta come back
You
and
gotta do
see
that,
it.
right? Yeah. Give those kids some sidewalks.
Yeah, you are,
open forum for you.
yeah. So, well, thank you. Anybody else? If we don't have an executive session, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion's been made, second adjourn. Roll call, please.
Trustee Amy Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll just look at you.
Just
You
go
can
down
say
the
it.
row.
Yeah.
Trustee
Yes.
Barker. trustee
Yes.
Little, and trustee.
Yes.
I want to thank everyone, and again, this meeting is adjourned.